Happy Wednesday, everybody, and welcome back to another week and another episode, a very special episode of Unfiltered Waters. And if you're tuning in, you already know. You are tuning in for the very first public conversation with our brand new CEO of USA Swimming, Kevin Ring. And I am sitting here on a Monday night reflecting on the weekend, reflecting on the Golden Goggles in Denver as well, the conversation with Kevin the day after. And I'm kind of live reflecting with you because I just got back from the airport like 3 hours ago. And so I'm just kind of settling in with my thoughts and perspective of having such a great conversation with Kevin yesterday. And I won't say too much because the conversation will speak for itself. I'll say a couple things though. Number one, in the prep for this interview, just know that I emptied the tank. I deep dove on data. I talked to coaches. I talked to swimmers. I talked to alumni. I talked to national team members. I talked to people at USA Swimming. I talked to people from outside the sport. I mean, I really wrung out the towel when it came to getting a very clear, full perspective going into this conversation and interview. And the reason for that is always our vow to you here at Unfiltered Waters. You know, I feel like I have such responsibility in the best way possible is that when you guys tune in and watch or listen to our episodes, you know that you are getting the facts. And we have taken the time to dive deep, and we're going to ask tough questions, but we're also going to treat every single conversation with curiosity and have the best intentions possible. So there's that. Number two, we definitely answered a lot of the questions that have been out there. I looked at the comments, I read all the things, and I feel like, you know, Kevin really answers a lot of those questions to the best of his ability. He's a week in here, people. But I think, you know, my impression leaving this conversation is very, very optimistic. And I had a lot of questions just like everybody else. And so I'll leave it at that. Just know I am very optimistic for the future. I am very optimistic for LA 28 and go Team USA. And without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Kevin Ring. What's up, party people? If you are an Unfiltered Waters fan for just even a little bit, you have heard us talk about Dream Recovery. And from the start, Dream Recovery has been dedicated to providing a suite of tools to helping human beings reach their highest potential through sleep and recovery. And so, as you can see here, if you're watching, you can see my swaggy blue light blocking day glasses. I've also got my swaggy blue light blocking night glasses, and they've got their brand new style, which is killing it. If you're listening, then go on Instagram or Google it. And then I'm holding up my Dream Tape Plus. Of course, they've got the Dream Strips that are those vertical ones if you're a little bit nervous of having your mouth taped shut. But the Plus, of course, is that amazing skincare. It's got collagen, it's got aloe vera, it's got vitamin C. I wake up and my lips are flawless. And then, of course, the Performance Sleep Mask is something that I cannot do without. Athletes, we always talk about controlling the controllables. Well, guess what? A sleep mask is step one to doing that, whether you're in an airplane, whether you're in a hotel room. Like, you can't always know what your environment's going to be. So being able to make sure you can black it out completely is huge. So without further ado, you know the drill. It's code UNFILTERED30 for 30% off your order. So go shopping and get everything you need to live at your highest potential.
As an Olympic swimmer, there were days when I'd swim for hours, pushing my body to its absolute limit. But what I had to learn was how much mental exhaustion played into my overall performance. That's something most people don't talk about, the mental toll that comes with high performance. After physical activity, the brain's energy stores become depleted, leading to cognitive fatigue. IM8 combines 92 premium ingredients, including essential vitamins, minerals, and bioactive compounds, all at clinical doses to support your overall health and performance. Data from a 12-week clinical study on real users found that 95% of participants reported improved overall well-being. You do not have to be an elite athlete to feel the benefits, even though it is NSF certified. All of my friends and family that I have shared this with have agreed that not only is it delicious, but they felt a significant difference in their energy levels. So don't wait in giving IM8 a try. You can use code UNFILTERED for 10% off your first order.
Kevin Ring, welcome to Unfiltered Waters.
Thank you. It's so great to be here with you.
Yes, I'm so excited. I just gave you a swimming analogy that you didn't know. Our audio just went out for 2 minutes, which is like probably my worst nightmare. And I said it's like your goggles snapping or your cap snapping in the ready room.
Yes, and as I said, I'll trust you. That's a bad situation. I'll trust you in that.
What would be the parallel to golf?
I think the parallel golf would be you go out there and you're not quite sure where your clubs are. I think that would be like,
Okay, yeah.
like that should never happen because you have a caddy that actually is responsible for that.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the only parallel I can think of.
Yeah, which I can't relate to.
No, a club, maybe the club head snapping on a shot, but
Yeah.
that should never happen either.
No. Well, we just wrapped up your first Golden Goggles, your first annual summit, first impressions.
It is an amazing community. When I came in, I wasn't sure what to expect, but to go in, the welcoming that everybody had for me, the passion that everybody has, and actually the athletes are just such amazing people.
Yeah.
The personalities, who they are, their character, the quality of them as individuals, that has been so impressive to me. But then also seeing all the volunteers and the officials, everybody was so passionate about what USA Swimming is, getting people into the pool and achieving. It's been really welcoming and impressive. I'm so excited what the future is.
Yes. I mean, the sentiment across the board coming in about you has been nothing but positive. And I think the thing that impresses me most about you is just like your recall on every single person. Like you met me and you're like, hot dog reviews.
Yes.
Let's eat some. Like, how in the world did you know that?
I try to, as you're going into this, I have to make sure that I'm doing my homework heading into it because it's so important to me.
Yeah.
The respect of I need to have the people I'm talking to. And this is such a personality relationship based. As you get to know me and as people get to know me, I really value relationships, personality, conversations, transparency. We're not always going to agree on things, but if we can form a relationship, I know something about you that we can laugh about, we can joke about. It makes a harder conversation so much easier.
Yes. Amen. That's rare these days, I think. So I definitely appreciate that. I want to hear about, you told me this story 2 nights ago. You had the announcement go out, an interesting headshot, and
Yes.
tell me about what your kids said to you.
So I'm a big proponent of like not necessarily reading everything, but just being aware of what's going on.
Right.
And my kids took such great joy in seeing the headshot. And it was taken with a great headshot, except the background had a little different look to it. And
Yeah.
my kids love the fact that they called me the Jeopardy character and the memes that came out. And I took such great joy in that as well, too, because I found it to be so funny. That was like the clever feedback and responses.
Yeah.
And even as going as far as my first day at USA Swimming on Monday, I'm in the office and I get my badge and it has that headshot picture. And my son quickly responds and goes, "Why didn't they put Ken Jennings on that?" So you know what? The fact that everybody can laugh about it, myself included, that was a great start.
Great start. I could not stop laughing when you told me that. And I feel like your kids keep you humble. So that's a good thing.
They absolutely keep me humble. The honesty there, it's almost brutal honesty sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's
It
okay.
kind of brings that quality of characters we just talked about.
Right. Well, I want to obviously get into the nitty gritty of
Yeah.
everything USA Swimming, but I don't feel like it makes sense to go into that until we hear more about your experience at the PGA. And I was floored hearing about some of the parallels between governance, the LSCs, the branding
Yes.
of the it's uncanny.
Yeah.
So can you share some of those parallels?
Yeah, when we started the interview process with swimming, the questions started coming in as, okay, what makes you qualified for this job?
Yeah.
And the more we started going in through the task force and the conversations with the board, we start realizing is you've got 2 really governing bodies, the PGA and USA Swimming, that you're trying to grow the sport, serve the members. It is a governance structure where you have the LSCs and you have your number of 58 LSCs. You've got 41 sections for the PGA. They're that grassroots connection to the sport. You also have the coaches who are teaching the lessons on the tee box, the coaches who are at the pool that we need to make sure we support day in, day out. That's there. You go as far as even as you look at the commercial and the business side of it. You have a 4-year cycle between the Olympics and the Ryder Cup.
Yep.
Those two things are going on too. How you have to manage those, how you have to maximize the opportunity when it comes to you on that 4th year and make sure you get the momentum and carry that moving forward afterwards. There were so many similarities there, but the other part that was so obvious to me too is that we're all trying to do the same thing. This is what's great about swimming. We're trying to do mission-based organizations, which I love. Even going as far as the foundation. Both are 3 pillars. Both are using the foundation to support communities. And that's what we're trying to do. And you had all of this. And it's this perfect marriage to me of there's so much brilliant swim minds that I get a chance to talk to, learn from. Everybody's so welcoming, saying, please pick up the phone and call. And what I've got from my background, you go there's this complementary relationship that I just think it's really important for all of us to keep on moving forward with this great background that I think I bring to the conversation and what the great knowledge that is throughout the swim community. I just think we're in a great spot.
Yeah, I agree. And you were at the PGA for 12 years.
Yes.
I can't imagine the Ryder Cup was what it is today, which you missed,
Yes.
which I think is such a testament to you coming here and missing the Ryder Cup and starting everything. Like there was no buffer for you coming over from the PGA to here, which I think just says a lot about you.
Yeah, and it's good. So when I was at the PGA for that long, but I had my Legends experience in between that. And the Ryder Cup was an amazing event. And I'll tell you, the person who loves the fact that I started swimming when I did most is my son, who, as we're taping this right now, it's a Sunday of the Ryder Cup, and he's actually there right now, watching this, texting me with updates, sending pictures. He's having the time of his life. So that's been great. But when the conversation came in of when to start, I went to the PGA, I had the conversation with them, I went to Legends, and I said, listen, I want to start as soon as I can, but I want to make sure I leave in the right way from the PGA. And so what we just agreed to was Friday was my last day, because this week, I thought coming into this week, missing it would be a mistake. Having gone through it, this week has been a gift. Everybody's asked the question of, you must be exhausted. And am I a little bit? Yes. But the energized feeling that I have coming out of this week, spending time with you just randomly one night, had no idea that was going to happen.
I know, it's so fun.
Had no idea that was going to happen. From meeting and greeting the young athletes at the fireside chat earlier this week who came over, we had conversations, meeting some national team members last night and junior national team members. Coach, this was an unbelievable start for me. And it gives me so many ideas to think about, but it gives me a conversation. If I've got a question, I know that I can now reach out to you. I now can reach out to Colin. I can reach out to some coaches and officials, LSCs. This is just such an amazing, amazing starting point for me that I'm grateful. And I've said it to you, and I want to make sure I don't lose this. Obviously, this is a job. This is a privilege, too. Serving USA Swimming and serving the athletes and the volunteers, this is a gift that I will always have. It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And I just know that if I had ever passed on this opportunity when it was offered to me, I would regret it forever. Yeah. This is just a passion project for me. And I don't mean project as a, it not taken seriously. It's just something that is, I will say it to everybody. I've said it to our team. We need to look at USA Swimming, this job that we have, as an opportunity to serve a mission that's far greater than us.
Yes.
And that's so important. I think that we have to remember that every day.
Yes. And I 100% relate to that feeling of people being like, you're always on the go, you're getting up early, you're talking to all these people, you must be exhausted. It's like, yeah, maybe a little bit, but when you're doing something and you're lit up by what you're doing,
correct,
you can run on, not recommending it, but you can run on fumes because
correct,
you're so filled up with what you're doing.
Correct. It was like, I woke up this morning and I was like, okay, I've got to respond to people. I need to get emails out. How do we get things moving? How do we start right now? It's just such an exciting time. I mean, never mind the fact that we've got this unique opportunity, 2.5 years where we have an Olympics, and we had to maximize that.
Yeah.
There's just so much energy and positivity right now that I know there's a lot of noise in the past. We can talk about that or not, but I don't want to shy away from that.
Yep.
But this is turning the page. This is a fresh start for everybody. And I'm hoping that we can look at that as a swim community. This is our fresh start to really do amazing things and remember what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, you just teed me up for that. Like, you're coming in at such a pivotal moment. And like you said, like, let's not shy away from the fact that it has been a tension-filled year across the board. And I know that, to me, I have such respect. I know you knew all of that coming into this. It's not like week one, you're like, oh,
right,
this is a challenge. This is, you knew all of this. So what I guess what inside you drove you to take on that challenge and what excited you about that?
It's actually the same answer to both of them. What drove me and what excited me about that is that I view it as opportunity.
Yeah.
Is that people are going to be negative at things. It's human nature. But what it is really good about this is the passion everybody has for swimming. Apathy's scary, apathy's hard to change. Passion, and if we all have the right intent, if we all go with believing that we're all trying to do the right thing, we can have disagreement, we can have challenges, we can have hard conversations. But to me, we just need to keep on moving forward. And to me, the passion is something that if we can all channel in the right direction, I really don't think there's anything we can't do. USA Swimming is, in my mind, the blue chip NGP. We act that way, we respond that way, we lead that way. And to me, that's why when I saw this, I was like, okay, I've heard all the conversation, the noise. I read everything. I knew a little bit about it before I had the first phone call with a recruiter. That to me never scared me, because if there's a conversation in the articles that are coming out, if it was dismissive, if it was super negative in the way that there's not a solution, that's scarier. This is people trying to do what's the best interest of USA Swimming. And I keep saying, we may not always agree. That's okay, because disagreement to me always leads to the right outcome as long as we have open minds. And myself included, realizing, you know what, I might be wrong or I might be right. Let's start with best intentions.
Right. Yes, that we talked about it the other night. Like having curiosity always, I think, serves people in life, regardless, whether it's in a personal relationship, in a business relationship. It just allows people to come to the table and speak respectfully.
Yeah, I love the quote, and I'm not sure if it's actually, Ted Lasso made it popular, but be curious, not judgmental. Yes. I know it's a tribute to Walt Whitman, but it is one of these really amazing ways to look at our life and look at what swimming is. I need to be curious. I don't judge what somebody has. So understand the frame of mind, have empathy and understanding of why they might be asking this, or why that anger or why that excitement is there, and how do we work forward to do that. And that's not to say that it's a point in time. We don't have time to not act. There's a listen and learn trip that it's obviously happening, but all that should be happening while acting behind the scenes or visibly and publicly. All three of those things need to happen, and they will happen. I can promise that to everybody in the swim community.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally rebuilding a plane as you're already flying it. I mean, that's essentially what you're doing.
I might correct that a little bit. I think that it's unfair to say that, because I think that there's so much good work that was being done by the staff for the last 12 months, and they just didn't have a regulator. Bob Vincent was a great leader for what we were doing. That 6 months was an amazing gift to me into the swim community. He's put so much in play, and the staff has so many great ideas. And what I've learned is how many amazing things have actually been out there and thought about and written down. I'm going to have some ideas. I'm going to have some leadership. I'm going to probably narrow some of those to make sure that we can act, because if you get too broad, you don't always be able to deliver on all of those things.
Right.
So I'd say that I don't think it's a rebuild. I think it's just a re-energizing a group of people who really are thinking about what should happen about the athletes. I have been so impressed. It's not just the community, but with the staff. The phone calls, the preparation for any interview I've had, the preparation of what they're thinking about, how we support the athletes, how we support the alumni athletes. It is everything that has been discussed and I've read about, and I can't say everything because who knows if I've seen everything. When I've asked questions, I've had answers. Or when I didn't have answers, I'm going to get that for you. It's really great, because I think that's when we can solve things. So I think it's really important to reposition this as it's not a rebuild. This isn't a restructure. This is the foundation and the support, and the team's already there. This is about turning a page and moving forward.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you shifting that, because I think part of the goal of the podcast and why I'm so excited to talk to you is there's so much happening underneath the surface, right, than just the headlines or what comes out. And so I think being able to illuminate that more and share more with people is, like you talked about, the transparency, I think, is huge, because it's going to allow people to see under the hood, to see the effort, to see the intentions. And I think sometimes that just gets lost in translation because there's so much going on.
Yeah, I've said to a lot of the people that I'm going to be transparent, probably to a fault. And I'm going to have people saying, ooh, you shouldn't have said that. And I might get that today. And that's okay to me, because I'd rather be transparent. I'd rather find ways to almost be vulnerable, because you can lead and be vulnerable, Because if you're transparent, people aren't guessing what you think, what
Right.
you're doing. They're not guessing your intention. To me, known intent can help all of us go in a direction that's going to be in the best interest. I'm going to keep repeating the message. This is turning the page. This is fresh starts. This is supporting athletes. This is getting more people in the pool. This is supporting our LSCs, our clubs, our coaches. It's a full ecosystem that we need to support from day one. And that's what we're doing. So we're keep on building this together.
Yes, I love that. No, I feel like I've heard you say that, like, I'm just going to be vulnerable. I'm going to go for it. Everyone's like, oh, but what you said to me the other night where you're like, let's rip it. Like, let's just have a conversation. And then,
Correct.
like that to me is your superpower.
Yeah,
Like
and
that is so refreshing.
And the vulnerability is that, you'll laugh and everybody will laugh at me. I'm the emotional one. I am vulnerable to the point of here's who I am. There'll be times that I'll show emotion that will lead to tears. That's not because it's a weakness to me. That is who we are. Let's turn the Band-Aid. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Let's have the conversation. Let's not be afraid of the hard questions, because while we have an amazing foundation, we also can't shy away from the fact there is things that we have to improve on.
Yeah.
There's an innovation, a modernization that we have to take on. And the board, to their credit, through the entire process, that was one of the themes they had for me. And I think, again, going back to one of the original questions of what excited me about this, there was a desire, there was an acknowledgement that change had to happen. No one is shying away from that.
Right.
With all its writing, I need to make sure that that's very clear to your audience, that we have to start, there are things that have to be fixed. Let's not shy away from that, but let's also not make it worse than it is. Let's find ways from a position of positivity. Listen, inside the office, I'll promise you, and the team will know this, I'm going to hold everybody accountable, including myself. Every word that I'm saying here is just a word until it becomes truth. I need to make sure that we build truth, acknowledging challenges, acknowledging the innovation we need to do, acknowledging the modernization we have to do, but really moving forward with a mission in mind.
So what are those improvements? And I say this prefacing as you are a week on the job. So I realize, but what are those improvements that come to mind?
What comes to mind right now are that making sure that we support and yes, I don't have all the answers, but here's just for my observation. I want to make sure that we are finding ways to remove barriers to getting people into a pool. We need to grow that, and whether that is through governance, whether that is through how we approach sanctioning, whether that is how we approach supporting the clubs themselves, whether that is how we find to remove the barriers of getting pools for people to go into. We can't create this, it's a supply and demand. We have to make sure we balance those two. We can't create a demand for swimming in places where there's not enough water. We have to make sure that happens. We also, I think, we really need to focus on the athletes. Greg Meehan and I have had some unbelievable conversations already. We're leaving the onboarding they just had with the national team, and he's building a culture of change. And I said to Greg, what do we need to make sure that in 2028, we have the most successful Olympics for USA Swimming ever? I don't know what that means, the definition of that today. I've got some thoughts, and we'll define that together with the team. But what it is we've got to make sure that we're supporting the athletes and the holistic athletes. It's not just about performance, but it has to be the whole person, the mental aspect of it, nutrition, how we have the medical services.
Right.
We need to make sure we advance that even more than what it is today, because to me, that's how we're supporting the athletes and making them know they're important. I don't want to forget, it's the alumni athletes.
Thank you.
You've all done so much and given so much to USA Swimming and the swimming community. I've said this to a point of, I don't think that you owe anything to USA Swimming. We owe something to you.
See, I disagree on that.
Okay, I like this.
Yeah, I just think, because I've been on both sides, right?
Okay.
I left, I think you have to do the internal healing, and I left for 6 years because I felt like, USA Swimming doesn't want me, or people don't want me, and that was not the case. It was.
I agree with you.
It was me internally needing to go, no, like I am enough, and I am. And so as soon as I reached out and asked for help, and then said, this is the difference. I asked for help, and then I said, no, what can I do for you in return?
Appreciate that.
To me, that is, and I'm not saying, no one's perfect, right?
No.
But I do think I have a kind of message that I've been pushing a little bit more as I've gone through the cycle myself of like, but it's a two-way street. It's a partnership. And so that's just my 2 cents.
No,
with
you know
that.
what? I appreciate you saying that, because the partnership is important for what we have to do moving forward. You have a knowledge and experience that I will never have. I've never been an Olympian. I'll never be an Olympian. But what I can do is draw on your experience and understand What was your experience? What should we improve on? I appreciate you coming back. It is a two-way street. These are conversations. And again, the door will be open. The alumni have done so much to help make USA Swimming what it is, this gold standard NGB. From the athlete standpoint, I just want to make sure that you all know and others know, and I think people who met me over the course of this week and people who I reached out to previously before I started the job understand that I know how important the alumni athletes, all of them are, and that we need to make sure that we show them that. Or if they're not ready to come back and support, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Let's just have these conversations and understand if you want to come back, what's going to make you feel welcome? Is there an area that you think that we should really be focusing on and you want to help?
Yeah.
What you're doing in this podcast, allowing me to tell this story, that to me is also giving back. And I want to make sure that we honor that. You know, I'm hoping that this is one of many that we can do in these conversations, that it's being welcomed here. Let's tell these stories, and what you're doing, I appreciate. I want to make sure all athletes know that this is an open door. And I've been told that I'm probably opening my door far too often to too many people. And so if that happens, people just need to be patient with me as I get back. It won't necessarily mean that I'm not hearing them, but it's how do we really just start figuring out. But I appreciate your perspective. That makes me feel better about where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine that, there are so many comments out there of, well, like, how is he going to get up to speed? Knows nothing about swimming. And, you could argue both sides of the coin on that. I actually think, again, it's another one of your superpowers, seeing an outside perspective. I married a non-swimmer, and so I got the benefit of seeing the outside perspective. I can't imagine in your time at the PGA, at Legends, that you didn't experience or have to go through something similar around building up the brands of the athletes, getting more money, all the things we need to do. Do you have examples that you can share in your past from that?
So I think the one thing we'll start with is that I didn't come from the golf world either.
Yes, I need to hear this story.
When I started in the golf world, I was working in the consulting business at IMG, and I was working across motorsports, and I was working across soccer, and I was working football, and all these other areas that had nothing to do with golf. But what happened was I was welcomed to an opportunity to work with a large client of IMG, moved my family to Cleveland, and they said, we need some help in the golf world. Katie, when I got told, I didn't know necessarily how all the majors worked, who was what the measurement of success was. But what I did is I said, okay, I am humble enough to acknowledge what I don't know and really learn from that. And I was managed to build a pretty solid career here doing that. I view this as a similar one. Acknowledge what I don't know, not pretend I know everything, be confident enough to ask the questions that I don't know, but then take the learnings of 25 years in sports, whether that was golf or whether that was working in food and beverage or sponsorship sales or other areas, and making sure that we take that experience and put it to the best interest of the swimming community and the athletes. But to really, the other part of your question of what I think we can do is, I think we need to tell stories. I learned what I did this week of hearing from the junior athletes, hearing from people who are not on junior teams. I sat with a boy who was in a wheelchair, and he wheels over to me and he asked me the question. He said, Mr. Ring, it's a pleasure to meet you. What are you going to do for Paralympic swimming? These are things that I need to understand what we can do to help. But what I also can do is find out ways where we can have, you're a storyteller. You've got a great background. There are so many incredible stories that I hear over and over again. And I think we can help the athletes with storytelling. And whether that is helping them and teaching them how they can tell their own story, or how we can either create new relationships to help tell the story of swimmers and swimming, how we can do that through social, how we can do that through podcasts, how we can do that through broadcast media, through our relationship with NBC. What can we do to work with them to help tell these stories on the in-between years? Because NBC has always done a great job of telling the stories during the Olympic years. And I want to work with them to figure out what we can do in the in-between years. How we can work with docu-series, how can we work with social, how can we find that incredible story of an athlete who came from injury, overcame that, and reached the wall first because of the passion, the integrity, the grit that they had. I want to make sure we tell these stories. I think that's what we can really do to not only help the athlete, but also help everybody in the swim community get in the pool. Because if there's that one child or that one adult who hears that story and says, I need to start swimming, we need to do that. Because swimming, again, let's not shy away from the fact swimming isn't that mainstream football.
Yeah.
It's not basketball. It's not baseball. It's really well known, loved, the favorite sport of I think many people during the Olympics. How do we make sure that it happens in the in-between years? Because the stories don't go away. They're just not being told.
Yeah,
I
it
think
just goes
that's-
into darkness.
And I think that's what we can start doing from the athletes. And then there's a monetization aspect of that as well, too.
Yeah.
How can we do the brands? How can we go out from a commercial standpoint and get more sponsors to support USA Swimming? How can we get more donors to the foundation? How can we get people to get excited to want to be part of this? And then how can we use that commercialization to support athlete programs and give them the resource and the tools they need, while also not losing sight of the fact that there is a grassroots movement that we also have to support. The wet and dry side I've learned a lot about in a short amount of time. We need to support all aspects of that.
Yeah, it's such a tightrope walk. Like
Yes.
it's like the chicken or the egg. You obviously want to support membership and coaches and grassroots, but yet you also want to support the national team because
Correct.
we talked about the other night. I mean, everyone wanted to sign up. Every little boy wanted to be Michael Phelps
Yes.
in 2008. You know,
Yes.
every little girl wants to be Katie Ledecky, right? And so it's such a balance. Like, how do we balance that?
It's a tightrope walk. How we balance that is I think we have to work together to figure out that we don't do too much. That goes back to the idea figure out what our North Stars are.
Yep.
And put resources, energy, attention, and the capacity for people's time towards all of that.
Yeah.
Not losing sight of the fact that we need to support the athletes. But if we don't support these future athletes, we don't have the next Michael Phelps. We don't have the next Katie Ledecky. We don't have those athletes. We need to make sure that aspirational storytelling gets through from, it's that cliche cradle to grave. Swimming is that cradle to grave
Yeah.
sport. That
Like 95-year-olds doing it. It's wild.
Correct, 95, and you've got the 6-month-old that gets into a pool.
Yeah.
And when you have that type of a lifespan of a sport, there aren't a lot of sports that have that. There's not a lot of activities that have that. And to me, we've got to make sure we balance it by not losing sight of either one of them because they're equally important. And again, these are words, but I think that's going to come through focusing our staff, the community, the volunteers, our board members who are so energized to really participate and grow of here's what we need for help. Here's how you can participate this. And if we focus it on key things, it will identify those amongst the next couple of weeks of what those things are. But to me, you have athlete, you got membership, and then commercial. We can define commercial any way we want. It can be about generating money for athletes. It can be about getting sponsors in. It can be about getting more donors in. That needs to drive what our core North Stars are. And then we need to communicate that. We need to come on and talk to you again when all of that is fully identified and making sure that everybody knows, here's what we're doing. If you want to help, reach out. Let us know what role you want to play in supporting us, because that's what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and focusing on the national team side, I feel like I've had so many conversations, even a young first time at Golden Goggles, like young junior swimmer. She was like, yeah, I feel like I know I need to get into storytelling and social media. She's like, I just don't know where to start.
Yes.
So the willingness is there.
Yes.
It's just overwhelming. And I think it's such a gift to have an outside perspective, because I think sometimes we all get in our own way, not our own way is the wrong way to say it, but like I've done certain things and my husband Todd will be like, that's really cool. You need to share that. I'm like,
Yes.
is it? You know, and like you're saying all the things of like, no, people who maybe don't even care at all about swimming would hear this story or see this set or see and be like, dang, that's cool. I want to follow that journey.
Who does all love a great human interest story?
Right.
Everybody loves it. And when you're living that, I don't know what the story, but if you're living it, you don't know how cool it can really be.
True.
Because most people are going through and it's like, well, I just woke up every day. This is just what I did. You don't understand how amazing that is.
Yes.
You know, how amazing it is of what you overcame to become an Olympic athlete. You didn't wake up one day and you could swim. You woke up one day and maybe you could swim. You got a little bit better. You got in the pool the next day. You sacrificed. You made those commitments to family, what the commitments in your family made to help you make that. Mm-hmm. These are all stories that people obviously realize it, but you wake up every day and there's so many stories of how you got there. Mm-hmm. And again, if you can change one person's life from a story and get them into the pool and have them be the next great Olympic swimmer, what a gift that is. I mean, it goes back to me as this job, it is a gift. Because if we can change those lives, and it doesn't have to be just the people who are focusing on the Olympics, I know this is what we talk about because it's the most visible measurement of success, and that it will never be lost on me. But the other visible member of success, how do we get more people into a pool? How do we grow a membership? How do we make sure that more kids want to get into that? And it's not just kids too. How do we get more adults who didn't know how to swim, who don't know how to swim, that suddenly their lives could be saved because they now know how to do it, or they had the courage to get back into the pool because they heard your story or somebody else's story or an open water swimmer story. There's just so many stories to tell. I'm a big of the narrative of getting it out there.
Yeah.
And I do think there's obviously the nuts and bolts, and there's obviously the tactical work that we have to do together. And that's what staff will do. And there's hopefully a lot of things happen. And when it looks simple, but a lot of success has happened, to me, we've done it right.
Yeah, I agree. Do you guys want to hear a crazy stat? 95% of women in the US, 95% are nutritionally depleted, which at first I was like, that's insane. But then I hear about my friends being tired. I think about my own experiences, and I truly am depleted a lot of the time, and I don't really know why. And it shows up in ways that may not even feel connected to nutrition. Things like poor sleep, low energy, hair thinning, or even skin dryness. But here's the thing. Our diets alone often aren't enough anymore. Add in chronic stress, busy schedules, and honestly, the use of processed food, and it's a no wonder that women are feeling so depleted. And we don't have time. We all have crazy things happening in life. I'm about to try to make a comeback for Olympic trials and my 100 breaststroke and grow a human inside of me. That's why in this prep, I am choosing Needed. Their uncompromising research-backed formulas are built specifically for women at every stage of life. My personal favorites right now are the Women's Multi and Omega-3s, which I've made part of my daily routine in the morning post-workout. They're also third-party tested, of course, formulated with optimal nutrient levels and designed to help women truly thrive. Because every woman deserves to feel her best. So if you're curious to learn more or you want to try them for yourself, UW Squad, you know the drill. Use code Katie for 20% off, and we'll link the code below and in the show notes. Enjoy. So yeah, let's stick on the grassroots piece a little bit. I don't know if you saw Kylie Kelsey. This went viral of talking about how she would. Let me say, I think if Kylie Kelsey's kids were like, "Mom, I have to be a swimmer," she's not going to shy away from that. But I think the point that I took from that is it is a challenge.
Yes.
4-day-long grueling meets. I don't know how my parents did it in the hot pool and deck and prelims and finals, and like it's a broad topic, so I don't know how much you can answer on that, but I guess the main question I have is how do we make swimming more accessible and fun?
Yes.
To get people in?
I've got 4 kids, and when you have to figure out how to get the kids to an event, get their activities, whether it's theater or sport, whatever it is, managing that time. When you have to make a 4-day commitment, it's not just the athletes. It's the volunteers you have to draw from. It's the parents. It's the officials. You have to get all of them involved. And one of the ones I'm getting my arms around is this block party where you can get in and out of a pool faster. It becomes more of a manageable event for families. And to me, that's what the growth is, where you can find ways to have it go in, and I don't have to commit 4 days of my Friday through Monday, or it's a Thursday, whatever the time frame is.
So long.
Ensure that we can get entry points that make it easier to get in, that people get excited, and when they come out of an Olympics or leading up to it, I think what we have to do is find ways. It goes back to one of the early part of the conversation. How do we reduce these barriers for growth?
Yeah.
And I can't say today I know all the answers because I don't. I'm learning a lot more, but I can pull from a golf story where we started finding ways to have PGA Junior League golf, where you created the fear of getting onto the first tee for anybody who plays. Mm-hmm. The attention's on you there. But if you pair with somebody else who might be a better golfer, and you put the number on your back so you feel like you're part of a team, and you're playing a format where maybe your better player hits that first shot, and you feel part of something, that's what one of the greatest vehicles were for golf. And you have a lot of other sports. Baseball is a wonderful sport. My son played it. But it takes a lot of time. You can play a doubleheader and you can show up at 9 o'clock in the morning and not roll home until 6 or 7 o'clock at night. But the Major League Baseball has changed things by finding the pitch clock, to moving the sport along to make it faster. Well, what are those ideas that we can pull from, or that are already in place and successful, and put energy towards to really start growing it?
Definitely. Yeah. I think that will be huge because I know there's so many parents are just like, they finish the meet, then they have to go to work on Monday morning,
Yes.
which I never actually considered when I was swimming, but now I'm like, dang, that would suck.
Yeah, and I think part of what, maybe it's you, maybe it's me, but I think we have to get Kylie to a pool. She,
Right.
she has 4 kids. She has obviously sports in her family blood. Let's get her to actually see these events and be part of it and experience and maybe going to a different environment. And she can say, okay, you know what? I do want to get my kid into a pool. And I think that's something we should also talk about too. The people who have amazing voices out there right now, how can we get them to experience the swim community? That to me is something that we should really start thinking about and doing it and welcoming other people who are
Yes.
not in it, but have a great voice, a great audience, hugely respected people.
Yeah.
Get them to be part of what we're trying to do.
So they can see the magic.
Correct.
Yes. Would you, if your kids asked to swim, if you go back right now, would you let them?
It's a great question. And I know what my answer should be, but the truthful answer is I don't know. Because
fair.
I would say my oldest child, 100%. Because when the oldest child is there, you're taking them to it, you're not necessarily thinking, we've dragged our youngest child everywhere.
Yeah.
But when you've got 4 and you're trying to figure it out, we can't make it easier to say, we have to make it harder to say, you know what, I'm not going to do this. We need to make it so that people say, you know what, there's so many life lessons from this. I also can give the time to swimming. So I think what I'd say is that I would absolutely get in it from what they've learned and actually make it realize that if I have to put that much time into this because my kid loves it, make them realize what the outcomes can be
Right.
by being part of this amazing community.
Yeah. I love that answer. Fair. I don't know. We're trying to have kids soon. I'm like, I would love them to, but also I feel like I have a similar answer to you.
It is. And
Yeah.
by the way, like I said, baseball, there's a lot of competition out there
So much.
for parents' times to help their kids. There's so much out there. Too many kids, too many, I'm not going to get too philosophical about it, but you have to become a one sport athlete far too early in my mind. And to me, how do we make sure that we, even if it's somebody, you get your primary sport for the elite swimmer, but how can you make swimming become somebody's secondary sport too? Make it have the ability that if they happen to be a terrific field hockey player, ice hockey player, baseball player, that they can still participate in swimming.
Yeah.
How can we create that type of a platform and a program to make it not just your primary sport, but also make the people who can be their secondary sport as well? Because again, that goes where these clubs who try to make sure they can survive, they can make a great living by staying in this, being a swim coach.
Yeah.
How do we make sure that they've got a capacity and they've got people who are saying, I want to be in the pool?
1,000%. Yeah. And I would have loved that because I feel like I specialized so early that I am the most uncoordinated human on land. Like,
I have trouble believing that.
no, people call me, like, they say that when I run, I look like a stork that's been shot.
That's very descriptive.
Very descriptive. First of all, I'm like, okay, go away. But I'm just saying, the point in saying that is like, I do think like it just, swimmers are just, we're just typically uncoordinated because we specialize so early.
I think that goes back to the being humble. There's no way that could be true. I think in every sport you've got people who might not be, but
You can ask around. We just met. You should ask around.
I'm
Do
going
some
to ask
research
around. So when I'm
there.
back talking about this, if I think about you look like a stork that's been maimed in some way,
Yeah.
that'll be a very different conversation. I have trouble truly believing that.
All right. Well, next time we talk, you can tell me. I want to jump back a little bit.
Yeah.
This is truly a tightrope talk, but the national team resource allocation.
Yes.
You look at, as I've dove into this, a lot of my conversations are obviously with my former teammates and current national team members, given the podcast. And you look at other countries and they have government funding.
Correct.
Right? Some of these athletes have around the clock video analysis, a coach specifically for PT, a coach specifically for recovery. But we know that it's a very extremely competitive landscape right now across all of these countries. So how do we supply our athletes with more of that when there isn't the funding currently?
So the USOPC is a great partner of ours.
Yeah.
And we need to continue to grow that relationship and figure out what we can do to continue to be great partners for them. But it can't be them having the sole responsibility for us with success.
Right.
And we have to go out and find other means for that revenue. And it could be a corporate partner that comes in and wants to commit to a specific program, or it can be somebody who we've got more revenue that's coming in, so surplus, or we're looking at budgets and we have new money that's come in here and say, okay, we need to allocate this towards the athlete allocations. What those numbers are, who knows? But we've got to make sure that it's not just the responsibility of one organization like the USOPC, who's been very good to us. We need to make sure they continue, but performance also helps drive that.
Right.
And that performance driving the revenue and the funding that comes in from USOPC. What I will say is that I'm going to push very hard. I've talked about commercial. Obviously, that's a big part of my background.
Right.
How we get more money into the door so that we can make sure that we are funding the athletes in a way that actually gives them the way to hopefully have a great lifestyle, support it. And I always hesitate because I never want to be taken out of context and say, Kevin, you on an Unfiltered Waters, you said this. But when you find out, and I've learned from this from current athletes, how much money they spend out of their own pocket to reach their dreams.
It's immense.
I don't know how we fill the gap between those two, but it has to be a conversation that we have to openly discuss with our board at headquarters and what we need to start filling that. I wish I had a great answer now, but I'm telling you, it's the awareness of that's there. We've got to find a way to help solve that. And we probably won't get all the way there. It's naive and it would be probably irresponsible for me to say that that's going to happen. But we've got to work towards that as a goal.
Yeah. Well, I think just like acknowledging it out of the gate and awareness is I think as an athlete hearing the CEO say, hey, like I see this, right? I see this and I understand that you guys are spending a lot of your money to go get massage, to go, whatever you need. I mean, to me, to be an Olympic gold medalist, an Olympian, it's got to be a 24/7 job in terms of what you're doing. And so, it is expensive.
So I said earlier, we can't pretend that it's not there.
Right.
If we pretend that it's not there or we deny it, that to me is insulting to the people who are spending the money or trying to make ends meet or sacrificing other ways to make their goals and their dreams happen.
Yeah.
We've got to have the conversation. Again, it's that conversation of transparency. I've heard from the athletes that I've reached out to, the current ones, and when they explain what they spend on nutrition, what they spend on training, what they spend on massage, it's incredible that they're able to do it. But some of the ones who are obviously more successful have greater means, but others don't. We just had to have this conversation about how we really start supporting the athletes even more than what we have historically to make sure that success happens.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I appreciate you saying that. So you talked about other athletes. I'm going to read this because it's such an important sentence. So Rowdy Games, Michael Phelps, among others, have spoken out. How do we rebuild that trust?
I think I have to build that trust with them, that they need to believe in me. And they need to believe in that USA Swimming hears, listens, and want to work together to what that solution is. I've reached out. We've had good dialogue, and but I don't know what that's going to look like. But I think that how we rebuild those is them getting to know me and getting to know that their voice is being heard, that while they haven't had a lot to say and they were vocal, again, it comes back to Katie. That was passion. They want what the best outcome is for USA Swimming and for the athletes. Okay, let's have that conversation. Tell me I read what you wrote. I've seen the tweets. Rowdy and I have had multiple conversations since then. How do we just start to rebuild this? And to me, it's trust. I am the outsider. Let's not shy away from that. Let's not pretend that I am coming from the swim community. But what that does do is that gives me a different perspective. I've got no bias one way or another. I'm looking at things that fairly, hey, you know what? They're right about this. Or what I've learned is maybe there's something else going on I'm not aware of. But if we don't talk about it, if we don't create conversation, I don't know how we can start rebuilding those relationships. And that to me is the starting point.
Right. I know. When all of that was coming out, I'm like, I wish that everyone could just be airdropped into a room and just face to face have conversation, because to me, that's when truly progress is made. People understand each other. The intention is there, right? And
these are, the athletes that you mentioned, and there's so many more. These are the athletes who have made such strong commitments to the sport.
Yeah.
They've dedicated their lives to the sport. I respect that endlessly. And that to me, again, it's that conversation that I want to have. I owe responses to people. I have to owe the conversation. I'm hoping that we can find time to meet in person or talk on a phone or have a text or have an email conversation. Let's just start creating that relationship so trust is built.
Yeah.
Because if anything comes out of this, I get that what I'm saying right now are words, and until it becomes action, they need to they may not believe me, but I hope that they'll know that if we have best intent in mind, we're going to get there. So it's a belief and a trust that we're going to do the right things, and that they have a voice.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's amazing. So I want to talk more extensively about your experience in commercial sponsorship strategies. One, I need you to share the story about Bryson and how you helped him see, how his storytelling could be impactful. And then just how you go about building those partnerships.
Yeah. So I'd say with Bryson, it was not something that I had any direct relationship with. But what he managed to do is he went from being this personality on the PGA Tour that people didn't understand, whether it's quirky, and he and Brooks had this relationship that was,
Viral video of all time.
publicly fighting amongst the two. And what Bryson has done is managed to change that whole persona that he is, hey, here's who I am. I'm having games at my house of hitting golf balls over my house. And he's created this entire cult following about what Bryson did. And I heard this, I think I mentioned this, heard the story about him walking around the neighborhood in Augusta and going to a putting green and putting with people who were there.
So cool.
And so these are the stories and the athletes. I wish I could say had anything to do with Bryson doing that, but it's the awareness that he did that and the self-awareness of how he recreated his own brand.
Didn't you meet him though? Didn't you run into
did.
him?
I
Okay.
did,
Okay.
yes.
I was like, I had that wrong. Okay.
I did. I never like to drop the note. Yes, I did run into him. He was doing
I
it.
was like,
No, I did. He was, but in the sponsorship with that is that, again, it goes back to the athletes are their own brands. We don't own their brands. We don't control, but we can help support and grow their own individual brand. What I do have responsibility for is helping grow the brand of USA Swimming and the USA Swimming national team, and how we can really start finding that assets that are the in-between years, so that we have so much more to offer to a potential sponsor that's not just every 4 years, that's the in-between. And what that is, we're going to figure that out. It can be content. It can be, is it another event that we look at? I don't know what the answers are.
Right.
But it's like, how do we create that value and making sure that people also know that it's not just okay, the return on investment is this because we spend it. No, your return on investment is also supporting the athletes, helping them reach their dreams. You're part of the Olympic movement. How do you want to be that? You want to also become part of an internship program that a company can put together to help athletes learn while they're training and they're trying to get to become these gold medal athletes or any type of medal athlete. But how do we create this internship program that maybe they go in and a company wants to participate in taking a athlete and training them in a skill set that they don't have right now because they haven't had time to commit to that? Yep. To me, that's where corporate relationships come in. And if you can explain to them, again, it goes back to storytelling. How do we sit in front of a company and say, listen, we want you to become part of USA Swimming. We understand you're investing in us. We need you to be a partner. And you're going to be able to do this, 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 and this. And in return, we're going to give you this, and you're going to help athletes' dreams come true. Or you're going to get more kids into a pool. You're going to save lives. It's a bigger story than what it is right now. And to me, that's where sponsorship and that's where the value comes in. It's a value proposition conversation. And money's hard to come by. People, when a sponsor comes in, they're saying, I believe in you. People put their own names, their own credibility within their own walls or the company's walls. We need to make sure we're delivering on that so that when in the world that we control, they look back and say, that was an incredible partnership. Of course, we could never walk away from that.
yes. Well, it's similar to anything in life. It's trust building, relationship building.
Yeah.
I mean, the way that you were talking about just pushing, executing, driving change, like the little, to me, the way you earn that, at least the way I've operated, it's like those little things, the above and beyonds, the early
Surprise and delight.
the surprise and like that just goes a long way in this world, I think, because not everyone's willing to do that. And the way you were describing that, I was like, let's freaking go.
Yeah.
Like I want to run through a wall right now.
We have to work hard every day to make sure that we are delivering and driving value and change and opportunity and work quickly and not be afraid to make a mistake. As an athlete, I don't believe you would have got where you were if you weren't willing to make a mistake or push yourself to failure.
Correct.
And to get to, okay, I failed here. I will not do that again. How do we keep pushing each other to make sure we're doing that excitement and really get to that next level? And my message to our team is that don't be afraid to make a mistake. Just don't make the same one twice. We can make mistakes. And if we're not making mistakes, we might not be pushing hard enough. Playing in a safe space, not taking risks, it's hard to grow if you don't do those two things. We need to just push ourselves a little bit harder, and not doing that for applause or people say, look what USA Swimming did. It just needs to be this organic change that we're going to create, and going there and pushing our staff and the staff pushing me and having the swim community pushing me every single day. Because I'll tell you, I hold myself accountable to what this job is and what I had, and the bet that people made on me as the outsider coming to the swim community with new ideas and different ideas. I need to make sure that I deliver on that every single day. And that's something that I do not take lightly.
Yeah. What for you, so I'll preface this, whenever I've been in the corporate world, so whenever I go into a new job, I always say it's the 90-day rule, where I'm not allowed to get emotional or make snap judgments until 90 days. Like, I'm literally not allowing myself. And it works really, really well. So in the first 90 days, what are in your mind, your quick wins personally, and then as for the organization?
What quick wins personally are going to be is helping build on the culture that has been started. As I said, Bob has really started to change the culture there. How do we continue to change the culture within the building to make sure that we all are in a mental place where we can grow? How do we turn the page from day one to do that? So I think culture change is going to be very important. That's going to be one step here. I think the other parts from a personal standpoint, I want to get out, and I need to be in the office because that's where a place is, but that's not where it should be all the time. I need to get out. I need to go to clubs. I need to go to events. I need to meet with sponsors. I need to meet with more media members. I need to get out to have people see me, hear from me, have a conversation like we have, like a conversation we had the other night.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to like me, but if they hear me and they understand my integrity of what I'm saying, what I'm doing, what my vision is. So for me, we talk about the first 90 days, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to doubt, question, it's already happened. Again, let's not be afraid to talk about it.
Yeah.
This is reality. I understand that. But if we're doing something, we know we're trying to make the right decisions, and we're not afraid to pivot when I'm being told, hey, you know what? This is a blind spot for you. You're wrong. Okay, let's fix that. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to get out. I'm going to have conversations. I'm going to talk. I'm going to sit, listen, but we're going to act. We're going to move at a quicker pace than I think USA Swimming has done in the past. And that's not criticizing anybody before me. It's just a different place where I come from and look at it. And I've got the benefit of being the new guy. So I can say all these things right now because I don't know what I don't know. But what I do know is that all I can do is wake up every day, work hard, and be honest, transparency, and not lose who I am, and make sure our team feels that they are valued, making sure the athletes know that they're valued, and making sure that we've got the volunteers, the swim clubs know that we're listening, we're caring, we understand the challenge. But sometimes it takes time to turn a boat. It takes a little bit of work, a little bit of patience. We're going to need some of the patience, but that's not that we don't have urgency.
Well, especially it's a big boat.
It's a big boat.
It's a big boat. One piece of advice: bring lots of socks.
Okay, talk me through that.
Because you're gonna be if you're gonna be on the pool deck, you're gonna get splashed a lot, and socks get So bring.
This
extra
is the learning.
Socks.
Yes. When I was at a golf event, I didn't have to bring a lot of socks unless I knew it was going to rain.
Exactly. Yeah.
That was the only time. So now I got to remember that I'm going to be constant wetness. Okay.
Yeah. So
lesson learned.
You're gonna be thinking about like, oh wow, thank you so much for that.
I will. I'm going to now be on a pool deck thinking Katie told me to bring more socks.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
All right, let's talk about your family, your wife.
Yes.
Your anniversary today, so happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. 10 years of not being together on our anniversary, so it's a tradition stays together.
God. Did you send flowers?
Hey, I wish you hadn't asked me that.
Oh, I'm sorry. After that, so you still could. Yes, you did send flowers.
They were beautiful, I hear.
Oh my gosh, amazing. So talk to me about your wife. I love that you guys are super competitive with each other, as me and my husband. We cannot play. My husband and I really can't play games together in a public setting because it just gets ugly. So tell me about her.
So my wife and I, we were a sports family. I grew up playing ice hockey. My wife was a two-sport athlete in college. I played ice hockey in college. She was a field hockey softball player. We met at a college athletic conference. We are competitive by nature. And she loves to play board games, and she is significantly better at them than I am.
At all of them?
Yes.
Like, what's her go-to?
Scrabble, like word type of games.
That's hard.
It's really hard. And And I like to view myself as an okay loser in some of these things, but you can only lose so many times over and over again. That's like, I just don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
So the competitiveness was there, and that competitiveness was in every part of our life. We would run together. That almost led to divorce.
I understand.
There was a lot of any game we have, we want to win. Now we've also passed that on to our kids. That winning is what they like to do. My one of my daughters, when this just came to me now, when they're going through likes and dislikes. She's in second grade, and then what do you like? And she wrote winning. That was the one word she wrote in a second
Were
grade.
you like yes, or were you like oh no?
No, we were like yes.
Yeah,
of course, you're like winning.
yeah.
And so that was a positive for. So 4 kids. My oldest is 21 at Bryn Mawr College, field hockey player there. She's a two-time captain there. My son is at West Virginia University. He chose West Virginia for a lot of reasons, but because he wanted that big sport environment, because they see the passion, the power of sport being part of it. I've got an 18-year-old at the University of New Hampshire who is there, and she has passionately taken to swimming already.
Okay.
She has, I got a text from her last night saying, I just finished Katie Ledecky's book. So she has followed this. She sends me the updates. She's the one who's enjoyed the memes more than anybody else and has sent them to me. And she has been really into that. She used sport as a lot of her social environment. She was competitive. She liked to win, but she tried everything. She was in the pool. She tried water polo. She was on a swim team growing up. She was a field hockey player. She's a softball player. She used sports as her environment, as her social network. And then I've got my youngest daughter who's 15, a great athlete, but super competitive as well. She's a field hockey player, and we just love going out. One of our passions is how we can do things together, and that can be a hike, that can be playing a sport. That is the competitive nature of our family, but that to me is also the gift, because I love people. Keep going back to the idea of passion. Mm-hmm. Having passion for what you're doing, I think is such a great lesson we can teach our kids.
Yes,
and they have what they're doing with passion, and also knowing that sports has so much power of teaching. It's resilience. It's grit. It's how to be a team member. So to me, this power of sport, I've talked to so many people about, because I know that, and this is not to dismiss other activities, but for me, I know sport. My wife and I know sport. We've raised our family as part of it. We met at an athletic conference. This has been part of our life. It'll continue to be part of our life. And that to me is what, again, these gifts of kids and looking back and having that refreshing mindset of why you do something and what you can learn from it. And when it's hard, we don't make it easy for them. You've got to work through that difficulties. And I think about that, again, everything we're doing is happening. It's swim, what you have to work through to reach your goals. People aren't going to hand things to you. You have to work hard. There's going to be bumps. If you're on a team, you may not like all your teammates. When you get to a job, you're not going to like all your coworkers either.
Yep.
But you still have to work together to get to an end goal. And I think that these lessons, the competitiveness, wanting to win, wanting to succeed, is what we have to keep on really building as a life, but also with my kids and my family.
Yeah, I could not agree more. So I stopped you the other night because you were going to share the story of your daughter, and you were like, do you want me to wait or do you? And I was like, no, we're doing it live. So
Great.
So please share that story with me.
So this is when the tears sometimes come in. So I'll open that up, but the vulnerability. The 21-year-old is at Bryn Mawr. Back in 8th grade, she was playing ice hockey and just got injured, but it was one of those injuries that the entire ice hockey rink went silent, and you realize it's my kid.
Oh my God.
And she, we get her into the locker room, and I go in to see her, and she very casually says, how you feeling? She goes, I'm good, but it's just frustrated. I'm like, oh, kids, you can't play? She's like, no, I can't really feel my legs. Very casually. I was like, okay. All right, this is concerning. So we're doing this, and we ended up leaving in an ambulance, going to a hospital, and she had basically damaged the nerves in her back and had no feeling in her feet, limited movement in her legs. And at that point, my wife and I are in tears. That we see this life, how her life just changed. And she just said, I don't know why everybody's upset. I'm going to be playing field hockey again. Her mental side was, I'm going to do this. She missed the rest of her 8th grade year and couldn't go back to school. This happened in February. She had really horribly painful PT to get some movement back. She went to freshman year, for anybody's hard going into high school. She went in with a cane. But every day she was like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Couldn't participate her freshman year. Her sophomore year, she got cut from the team, the field hockey team, but she just said, I'm going to keep on working hard to do this. And this difficulty manifested itself in a condition called PNES, which is the trauma that she had physically and mentally was manifesting itself in seizures.
Jeez.
So that was another trip to Yale to have her looked at by neurologists there to figure what was going on. And she just had this persistence that she wanted to achieve something great. She never looked at it that way. We all did.
Yeah.
And it was her story to tell. And so we went through her junior year. She's like, I'm going to try out again. Makes the team. Made the team her senior year and started getting recruited to play field hockey. And again, these are things that we never thought about. And she never told this story because it's always hers to tell. But she has given me permission to tell the story. And because her view of this is that this helps somebody else. A story of, we get to tell these stories because it changes lives.
Yeah.
And it did. It's just, she went out, she won an award because of her resilience in sport, her high school year. And what we realized is that we had kept this so much, even from her brother and sisters. When she won this award, we're sitting in the middle of the field. She gets this resiliency award. They had no idea.
Wow.
Because she was just like, I'm just doing this. I'm going through this training, this therapy. And COVID, she just, one day, she was kind of like, we saw, Chandra and I, my wife, saw her kind of out and being more active. And we're like, she's like, yeah, I'm getting feeling back in my feet. Just very matter of fact.
Oh my God.
This was past the point where we ever thought that she would be able to do this again. And it's just now said she's a 4-year player on Bryn Mawr's field hockey team, a 2-year captain. And the miracle of that is this story that we should be telling. And it's her story to tell, but she's been giving me that ability to tell it because I think that that's such an important part of who I am. We learn more from her. We learn so much more from her than to us. Sorry. What we learn from our kids, we can learn so much more from them than they'd learn from us because it's a gift. What our kids bring to us is a gift.
Don't apologize.
We have pride in all 4 of our kids, but seeing what she overcame and how her siblings supported her and how her life could have been very, very different if it wasn't for positive thinking, what she wanted to do, what she wanted to accomplish, and what she has, it's just, as I said, highly emotional for me.
Yeah. Well, she learned those behaviors from you and your wife.
Maybe to a point, but there's something inherent seeing what she worked through to get there. She may have learned that, but there is an innate positivity that you have to carry through this, and she did. She wanted to get there. She wanted to do it, and she really found a way to do it. And as I said, maybe she learned some of that from us. We learned more from her.
Yeah. Well, thank her for allowing you to share that story
I will.
because, like you said, it's life-changing for so many people to hear that.
It is life-changing because I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like my welcoming to this will be people listening to this and hearing my voice cracking through it. But I hope that what I've said to everybody is that I hope that just shows that I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to admit, where I both strength, weakness, my passion. This isn't in my view, showing this emotion isn't a weakness of leadership. It's human.
All.
It's the humanity that we have to carry. It's the humanity that our athletes, that people every day have a story to tell.
Yes.
We need to tell these stories because I know what she overcame, but the truth is that I know that there are thousands of people who overcame things that they never thought they would. And that's that driving of how can I get what I want? And how can I get to where I want to be? And how can I use sport to get me there? it's just working through that. And that was the, yeah, when I told you the other night, I convinced myself that I was going to be able to keep it together, and I failed. I really,
I don't think you failed. I think that's like you said, it's just showing your humanity. And to
yeah,
me, those are the strongest leaders out there. I think anyone who stifles that and doesn't try to show that is just
yeah.
not being them, truly authentically them. So I don't know you that well, and I never say this, but I'm like, I'm proud that you were able to share
Thank you.
that.
And I am the crier in my family. I need to admit that now because my kids seem to take great joy in holiday presents that
Like as a
is a
challenge.
challenge. Like who can make dad cry harder from his Christmas gift?
Yeah.
And what it does, it leads to some really amazing gifts.
Yeah, you're like,
Memorable
joke's on you
lifetime
guys.
gifts that sit in a desk that I can refer to back. It's a picture, it's a memory, it's a story. It is a little book that I have about what I love about dad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh.
it's all of these things that I've got. And that is every single Christmas. It is who can make dad cry harder, and someone succeeds.
Does it rotate? Who wins?
We talk about competitiveness. I think it really does rotate a
Okay.
little bit. It's they want to outdo each other. I don't know if we've measured what that is. Is it like whimpering? Is it heavy tears? Is it sobbing? Is it a soft single tear? I don't know what it is that actually is the measuring stick
Yeah.
of success. But I'm very fortunate to have wonderful kids who accept that about me,
Yeah.
and I show that.
Well, thank you for showing it here.
You're welcome. Sorry, everybody, for trying to hope my voice came through well enough as I try to tell the story. So.
It will. Well, I'll ease up on you. We'll end with our power play, which is
Okay.
just some fun, short questions. So the first one is, if you could change one thing about the sports industry as a whole,
Yep.
what would it be?
That you do not have to specialize in a sport so early in life. Kids should have the ability to both physically and mentally play different sports, try different sports, and not be afraid that if they don't commit to one thing at the age of 12,
Yeah.
that they cannot be successful in it. I think that if I get there, it is getting back to sports roots, and it's never going to go backwards, but it's having that ability to go back to, I can play multiple sports. If I miss a season, I haven't fallen behind my peers.
Yeah.
The commercialization of youth sports, I think, has just changed the dynamic of kids playing. It is probably inevitable because the demand that was there and people want that. But if I could change something, I think it would be kids having a belief that they could do other things and not fall behind. I think it's an important lesson for all of us.
I like that. Okay, if you had to compete in one event in swimming, what would it be and why?
Okay, so I've thought about this a lot in the last 3 months of trying to figure what it is. And I am totally fascinated. I have to pick two.
Okay.
It's the breaststroke and the backstroke. And the only reason I say it is that I'm just fascinated by the body mechanics of both, meaning
Yeah.
that the strength and core of shoulders and seeing the strength and seeing what has to happen. I can't fathom how it's even done and the body mechanics of strength that people have to actually get there. To me, if I could do something, I'd want to pick one of those two and compete in it. And I'm not a long distance runner, so a long distance swim is certainly not in my future. But doing something where I can learn to have that type of body control and strength and upper body strength, I think would be amazing.
Now you're going to have your socks and you're going to have every single coach being like, hey, you heard you love breaststroke. You want to hop in? We'll give you a lesson.
Yeah, and hopefully we talk about patience. I hopefully have a lot of patience for teaching me how to do that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, breaststroke is my favorite, but yeah, it's definitely, the timing is rough. So.
Like I said, I just look at it and it's just amazing as I'm seeing this. I'm like, this is incredible. How does go out and how do you compete in this? And it's been amazing.
Okay, what would your children say is your red flag?
Okay.
And what would your children say is your green flag? And you could throw in your wife to this as well.
Yeah, I would say that so I'll go with a red flag of it sort of tied into me moving out to Colorado Springs. And I think a little bit of the red flag is that I sometimes view things too simplistically at home. So on last Saturday, I finished up my last job on Friday night. And on Saturday, I'm packing and getting ready to go and having dinner with family. And I learned that my kids and my wife had this fear that they want to be very active, and we're whether we're buying or renting a home, that they want to be active in that, because the red flag was, their viewpoint was, is that I was basically going to get a TV, a mattress, and a chair, and then that was all it was going to be. So I think it's a simplistic view of how I would do something, and that I probably am, I don't take myself too seriously. So to me, I'm like, well, why do we need all those other things? And my family was like, because we want to come out and visit you.
Yeah.
And we would like to have a place that we can also sit down.
That seems fair.
It seemed incredibly fair and logical. And so I think that would be the red flag would be, probably I didn't have that type of consideration, which I should have had. I think the green flag would be what we've just talked about, the vulnerability of me.
Yeah.
That's who I am. And that's, whether it's something that I wear or I say or I act, it's just who I am. I think that hopefully what people see and they've learned from me today is that vulnerability is, I think I view that as a green flag. Some people may not, but to me, I know the people who are most important to me is my family. I think that's how they would view it.
Yeah, I would view that as 10 green flags. Okay, what is the craziest swim culture behavior that you've seen so far? And I'll give you a second to.
Okay.
So
Oh,
when Todd came into the sport, he was like, why are all the coaches like yelping and screaming, but the athletes can't hear them?
Can I ask what the answer to that question is?
I didn't really I was like, I think it's just what they do, like it's just what they do. He's like, but like you can't, he's like, can you hear your coach specifically? I'm like, no. I was like, I think it's just them getting nervous energy out. That was my answer. But he's asked me said so many observations of like, that's so weird. I'm like, that's just the culture.
I think I want to go back to that one, probably when I've got to see more, go to more meets and events. I think that's
fair.
the one we'll close up with in the next time we talk, because there's so many aspects of this that I'm trying to understand, and I wouldn't want to be insulting to one cultural aspect.
It's fair.
But I will say that his comment about the whooping was one that I've kind of like, I accepted as I guess that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I was, I was an ice hockey goalie, and we had some weird things that we did too. And when people asked me, I was kind of like, well, what do you mean? That's
like
just
this
normal.
Yeah.
The one that was my favorite was in ice hockey, where we called what you wear, you have your shin pads, and then we call them pants. My kids and my wife were like, but they're shorts. They're not pants.
Yeah.
They actually they're above the knee. I'm like, well, that's just what they're always been called, is they're your hockey pants, but they're not pants, they're shorts. So this was a debate, and like the weirdness of I think it's things that if you're in it, you accept it as norm.
Yes.
And I'm going to have some things that I go there, and I've said to the team, I said, I'm going to ask some really ridiculous questions.
You're going to be like, huh.
I've told some coaches that I've spoken with is that I'm going to see some things that I'm going to be like, why is that? And I think the answer is often be like, that's because that's just what we do.
Yeah, like I don't actually have an answer for
No,
you.
no, and that you know what? That actually means that when I accept that as completely normal, I think I will have become chlorinated. I'll become
Yes,
part
I love that.
I'll become
Chlorinated.
I'll become part of the culture in a bigger way. Which my goal is to have somebody accept me as being part of the chlorinated community. And they've been very accepting there, but I know I've got some work to do from a learning standpoint to actually get myself fully chlorinated.
Fully chlorinated. I love that. All right, last question we ask all of our guests.
Okay.
So, what is a word that motivates you, inspires you, or just encompasses who you want to be?
Passion.
Wow, you had that ready to go. I like that.
Because to me, passion is everything. And whether it's passion for an activity, a book that you've read, for your family, for your job, whatever it is, passion to me is so powerful, because you can harness, it can motivate you when you don't want to get out of bed that day. If you've got a passion to do something and to succeed, that's going to go there. Success is an easy one. Failure is one that's scary. But passion to me is that driving motivation that never goes away.
Couldn't agree more. Oh, Kevin, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
This has been so much fun.
This has been great. Thanks for having me, and I hope you have me back someday.
Of course. You're always welcome.
Great. Thank you so much, Katie.